Boop. Happy Thursday. Today is Thursday, April the 29th, 2021, and today's daily Bible readings come to us from Psalm 22, 25 through 31, Amos 8, 1 through 7, and then Acts 1 through 8. And I'm going to look at Acts today and talk about the God who won't forgive. The story starts off with Amos being given a gift basket by God, and it says that God gave him this basket of summer fruit and asked him. He said, "Hey, Amos, what's this?" And Amos is like, "It's a basket of summer fruit." So the interesting thing is, and this is one of those things where maybe getting a book that explains some of the language to you is helpful, because for our English translations, it just says summer fruit. But if you study somebody that actually knows Hebrew and kind of writes about it, they'll explain to you that the language there, the Hebrew, is actually a pun, because the word in Hebrew for summer sounds a lot like the word in Hebrew for end. And so, summer fruit, the fruit that comes at the end of the harvest, the end of the summer season, but it's also the end. So it's the end fruit, if you will, the fruit of Israel's disobedience. And that goes right on to there, because God gives Amos this basket of summer fruit and says, "I'm giving you this because the end has come for Israel." And he says, "I will never again pass them by." That's an interesting thing. That's the way it says it in the NRSV. But it's also, which is interesting because it's sort of an allusion to the Passover, right? When God passed over Israel on his way to punish Egypt, right? The last of the plagues. But he says, "I will never again pass them by. I will no longer forgive them," though, is what other translations say. There's this guy named Alter who did this great translation work on the Old Testament, the Hebrew Old Testament, and he translates it, "I will no longer forgive them." And that's not an idea we like to think of, this idea that God doesn't forgive, because, we just came through Easter, and the whole point of Easter is that God is forgiving our sins through the work of Christ. So this idea that God doesn't forgive is a little frightening to us. But, which is, why we might prefer translations like the NRSV that says, "I will no longer pass them by." It's less specific about the problem being with us. But maybe we should ask the question, why won't God forgive in this choice? And what is it that he won't forgive? Is it idolatry? Because we know from reading the Old Testament, that God is not real keen on Israel being idolaters, that is, worshiping false gods. And the prophets themselves talk about that over and over again. Is it because they were, maybe courting the power of foreign countries, of foreign kings? God gets after them about that, some too. But that's not what he is really mad about, and that's what he's not going to forgive them for. What he is really on them about is the way that they were abusing the poor and the weak. He goes on to say, "Hear this, who trample the needy, destroying the poor of the land, to use a short ephah measure and an oversized shekel weight, and to tilt the cheating scales, to buy the indigent with silver and the needy for the price of sandals." God starts off by saying, "I'm so tired of you. I'm so tired of your worship, because you go through the motions, and the whole time you're doing worship, you're like, oh, how long till this is over so I can get back to doing my business? So I can get back to doing my business of cheating people," basically, is what God is saying. You're cheating the poor. Not only, you have a scoop that says it's supposed to be 1 cup, and it's more like 3/4 of a cup. And then on top of that, the weight you're using is overweighted, so that you're actually making these people pay more for less. And then even when they think they're buying wheat, you're selling them chaff. You're selling them everything that is not the wheat. And that's what God's mad about. That's the sin that God says he's not going to forgive any longer, not going to turn away from, not pass over, is how these people treat the poorest among them. So, The end of Israel's idolatry, the end of Israel's disobedience, is the way that they treat each other and the way they treat the people who can least afford to be treated badly. Well, that's the DBR for today. You should get outside, enjoy the day, and we'll be back tomorrow. Huggins will be here with a great DBR for you, so we'll see you later. Boop.